Okay, while we're waiting for Divya to get on stage, I just wanted to give you a brief introduction to Divya. She's actually been almost entire career building her startup BYJU'S, which she has co-launched with her husband, BYJU'S himself. The company's named after her husband, and the two of them have, built a meteoric kind of company that's been on a meteoric trajectory here to take it from basically the launch that they did almost 10 years ago to where it is today, a decacorn, and the largest EdTech company in the world, at least the highest valuation at the moment, and something that is being used by millions and millions of children and students across India, but also now increasingly across the world. I want to make sure that Divya's joined us. Hi, Divya. Glad we got that technical snafu out of the way. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Very good. So I was just telling them that you've spent almost your entire career at BYJU'S building this startup that has had a meteoric trajectory with your husband BYJU'S, right? And so we're going to have a conversation today. But before we start in the conversation, I wanted to set the stage of where BYJU'S is today. So I'm going to ask you a few rapid fire questions. I just want you to answer quickly. Just give me a sense for how big BYJU'S is today. How many users do you have?
Yeah, so today we have 75 million students learning on our platform, and the app was launched in 2015, but we're actually a decade old. A lot of research has gone into it. And as a business, we've been very sustainable. We've been growing in revenues 100% year on year ever since we launched the app. And apart from that, we have 5.2 million paid subscribers. So if you ask me, I think one big thing, turn of events this year was that we had 30 million new students come onto our platform in just 6 months because the pandemic had put EdTech in the spotlight. So I think...
Repeat that for me, 30 million.
Yes.
Wow, in the last 6 months or so, yes. 6-7 months. Wow, that's an amazing rate of growth. But I think it's the silver lining of the pandemic for the EdTech industry, right? In some sense, people had no choice, right?
Yeah, fortunate to just be in a segment of positive relevance, even though it's unfortunate, it's turned out well for education because we were able to help students continue learning.
Got it. And I'm going to continue with the rapid fire just to give some sense of where BYJU'S is, right? What's the revenue like? You said you had 5 million paying customers. What's the aggregate ARR or whatever?
800 crores.
800 crores right now.
2,800 crores.
2,800 crores. Awesome. So that's a huge...
We've been growing 100% year on year on year.
So. Yeah. And your most recent funding was 500 million plus round, and you all became essentially India's second decacorn in the process, right?
Yeah, but I think the value is not the value of at what we are today, because we still have a really long way to go. We've just hardly touched a very small number of students that we can positively impact. But I think the reason why we've even reached to where we are today is because it's more about value creation. Our end user, that is the student, sees value in the product that we create. They're engaged onto it. In fact, two even more important numbers, according to me, that we track is engagement and effectiveness. So especially when during the pandemic, we've seen students use the app for 100 minutes per session, which used to be 70 minutes before. And they're coming back to the app almost every single day. And I think that's a very strong metric to measure. Apart from that, we're paranoid about effectiveness. How effective is your app? And I think one way to measure that is by looking at learning outcomes. And that the testament to that is the renewal rates, which is as high as 85%. So their annual subscriptions went, and I think parents are seeing value in the products that we provide, and hence they're renewing year after year.
Wow, so that's a good kind of take rate and a good renewal rate too. So you're doing well on both sides. No wonder the investors are lining up. So now tell us a little bit about what you think over the last you all pivoted. I mean, I remember seeing images of BYJU'S delivering lectures in stadiums, right? That was the offline model. Yes. Now you've gone to the complete online model where it feels almost like a one-to-one experience as opposed to a 1 lakh to 1 experience, right?
Right.
So give us a sense of that, and what got you to where you are today. What are the 3-4 learnings you had along the way, right, in that pivot?
Sure. Yeah. And like you rightly said, prior to 2015, we were 100% services. We were 100% offline. And today we are 100% product, we're 100% online. So I think there are many things which work for us. I'll just try to, probably just talk about 2 or 3 most important things which did. I think one is we've been very fixated on our mission, but very flexible in the way we've executed it. We are a content first company, education first company, and we've used technology all along the way to positively disrupt ourselves again and again. And we've not been afraid to do that. And all of us in the core team will tell you that we never started BYJU'S as a business. BYJU'S was created when passion intersected with a strong need in society. We realized that we need to bring about a change in the way children learn. We were passionate about doing that. We need to make them learn not just for exams, but much, much beyond that. So what we were trying to address was three core challenges in the current education system, which is one, I think, lack of access to quality learning. Two, lack of personalization in a conventional learning environment because we have a very suboptimal teacher-student ratio in a physical classroom. And three, learning driven by the fear of exams rather than the love for learning. So the aim of BYJU'S is actually to make learning, if you ask me in 3-4 words, make learning accessible, make it effective, make it engaging, and make it personalized for every type of student. And our focus has also been to reduce the digital divide because the inequities that exist in the physical world can actually be resolved only by using technology as an enabler. So, and like we started our conversation today, we have about 75 million students using our app. And it can be said that our valuation growth is proportionate to our business growth because since the very beginning, we've been very conscious about building a sustainable business. But I think more than these numbers, main focus has been to create learning programs, products, experiences that will actually help students learn even better. So, and you said you're probably the most valued EdTech company and all of that, but there's no point in having a great valuation if it's not followed by value creation. And I think the only reason we are able to achieve relative success is because of the kind of impact and the value we are creating in the way students learn everywhere. And the biggest strength of BYJU'S, if you ask me, is our team. The core team has stayed the same ever since we started up. That's been a huge advantage. It ties you together towards your mission like a family. It's very much like a family. There's a strong continuum within the teams as well because of that. So the success and growth of a business are augmented by the values that the core team believes in, the core team practices. And I think that kind of founder mentality is very, very, very important.
Got it. I want to follow up on that. I think you brought some great points up there. One is the learning aspect. So I think we're going to see a real redefinition of how learning happens, right? And not just in school, but throughout life. Then it's the classroom that I want to talk about. And then the third is assessments, So do you see these platforms, especially yours and others, that will be bringing about a different way of doing all three of these things, right? Can we build a bespoke kind of personalized curriculum path through education as opposed to, the one size fits all method we have today, grades, a cadence that's fixed, all of that. Can you talk to that? What does the future of education look like as we imbue technology in there, right?
True. And I think, I think this is kind of the time to talk about the future of education because the pandemic has changed the way we perceive education, has put EdTech in the spotlight like never before. Because as per UNESCO, I think about 1.5 billion students were forced to stay at home. And if not for technology, their learning would have stopped. A similar pandemic 100 years back, it actually stopped, right? So unfortunately, it took a pandemic like this for everybody to realize the impact of online learning. And we saw that overnight schools and colleges had to transform into an online education platform. So, but if you ask me, the future is neither 100% online nor 100% offline, even though there's been a massive mindset shift among all stakeholders in education, be it parents or teachers, students, schools. I think the future of learning is blended. It's going to combine the best of online and offline learning because there are certain subjects like math, science, and coding which can be taught much better online, but there are important subjects like physical health education, the arts, and the social skills that students pick up at school that cannot be actually replicated online. And to inculcate life skills like empathy, courage, to encourage teamwork, it always helps to have people on your side. So I think the future of education will probably just take a leap from the traditional one-to-many approach that we have to blended one-on-one experiences, because with technology, like you rightly said, it's possible to create a sort of a one-on-one learning for the student where the learning is adapted to the child's style, pace, size of learning, and that way it becomes so much more enjoyable for the student to experience.
Got it. And Divya, I think we should address also that there are some who believe that this kind of over injection of technology is not so great and all that, right? I mean, that just the pandemic has actually increased screen time disproportionately, because students are now 8 hours a day or 6 hours a day in class. Then they're doing prep after that, and then they're doing even their entertainment and socializing online, right? So, some parents are concerned about that. How do we find the right balance? And you're a mother yourself, so I'm sure you're tackling the same issues, right?
Yes, you're right. And I think, as parents, we actually are cautious about the way, and I think that rightly so, it should be. So the answer to screen time is, I don't think we can place a value to it, but it should be the right kind of screen time. And I think if parents are involved in the kind of screen time that their children are exposed to, and they can moderate it with interspersing it with physical activities, then I think it's taken care of. Because as you said, I'm also tackling the same thing. My elder son is going to school, and it's an online school right now. So we're faced with the same kind of things, But if you intersperse it with the right amount of reading books, the right amount of playing, if possible, right? I think that can be taken care of. So if parents are cognizant, and a lot of parents are cognizant of the fact that too much of anything is anyway too bad, I think the right balance is something that we should kind of try and achieve and help our children.
But now let's talk a little. This is the product conclave, and we should talk a little product as well. Y'all are a very unique company in the sense that y'all go all the way from kind of the buyer being the parent, possibly, and the user being the child, content being very heavy, but tech and apps being there constantly and heavy, as you said, 100 minutes a day. Anybody would die for that in an app space, right? That kind of engagement every day, right? And it's almost like, students, once they get used to your product, have to use it for the entire year, right? So how do you build product that is, how do you just walk us through your product roadmap, how you're thinking about building better and better products? What's the process there at BYJU'S?
So I think, like I said, we've been an education first company. I think that's really helped, because we've not just digitized textbooks. We've not just, it's just not digital. It's just not simple digital learning. There is a lot of interesting use of technology which goes behind every product that we create. And so how it started was that, and like you rightly said, we were teaching classrooms, big classrooms, stadiums with 25,000 students, but that's the maximum you can do offline. So we went online. When we went online, we realized that we need to create a product that is appealing not just to the top few students, but to every kind of student. And that will happen if you make it engaging only. So how we did that was, we used technology at every stage. To make learning more engaging by helping students learn in different formats, creating movies, creating graphics, making a more engaging experience. But I think what we did is, we always put the teacher driving the content. So if you look at any of the learning videos which we've created, the teacher is center stage and taking the students through an engaging experience with the help of technology. So technology has been used as an aid. And also, like you rightly said, the app has been made in-house. The content has been created in-house. Even the music has been created in-house. We have a band inside. So the entire pulse of the product is felt by the team. It's done by the core team which exists in the company. So I think that's really helped in putting it together. And teachers have been integral to the kind of product, because we feel the pulse of our students. I'm a teacher myself, so we know what a student likes, what works for them, what doesn't work for them. What do they find simple, what do they struggle with. So all of those thoughts and everything has gone into the product. Most of the core team has actually been a teacher at some point of time in their life cycle at BYJU'S. So that, and we've also used, we've done a lot of investments for artificial intelligence, machine learning, analytics, and all of that, to help improve recommendations, to help make learning more personalized. So I think it's a mix. If you ask me, it's working, because we are not an EdTech company, we are an education, media, technology company, and all three have come together.
Got it. And then tell us a little bit about immersive environments, the AI aspect of it. Where do you see that going? I mean, and then how do you map that to, for instance, would you all provide a hybrid environment yourselves, right, end to end? Like, would you own physical schools of some kind that you could deliver through, or would you partner, right? So talk about how, the new technologies, especially where you're experimenting there, what do you think might hold a good value, right, for your experience?
Yes, so I think any new technology, if it becomes mainstream, that's when it will have a larger impact. So if AI and ML starts becoming mainstream, that's when, because you need to have a lot of people using it so that it can create an impact. So we're at BYJU'S, we're actually always looking at integrating technology to create the most immersive learning experience for students. And I think deployment technology is actually inevitable to improve the efficiency of online learning in the future, because this is going to help us improve recommendations, predictions, and also problem solving capabilities of of each kind of student. And from a platform perspective, the app uses analytics which helps us collect feedback from the students. We have knowledge graphs which help us understand what each child is doing from a learning perspective, helps us take them through a personalized journey based on their learning capability at that point of time, and then take them up to the next level. And so then we structure it for them accordingly. So the product philosophy itself is on listening to the student in a qualitative as well as in a quantitative manner. And we've also used, and I think that's important, we've used computer vision technology by Osmo. Now, Osmo is an American company that we had acquired recently. What's very interesting is the way they combine offline and online learning. It's digital learning, where a student actually practices, say, for example, a worksheet in a traditional book. And the computer vision technology picks that up and relays immediate feedback. So it's using the best of offline and online. So.
Got it. So it's like real-time assessment almost and feedback.
Yeah.
Great. Now let's talk a little bit about, during the pandemic, we also had an exacerbation of the digital divide in some sense, right? Some kids were left without devices, without bandwidth at home that were going to schools, right? How do you, is this an area where the government needs to focus now very strongly to kind of bridge that divide and move forward? And I know there's a new government policy. You're probably much more familiar with it than I am. How do you see that playing out over the next few years?
Yeah. So I think, okay, so first I'll probably just give my thoughts on the digital divide, and then we can also talk about the NEP. So yes, while the digital divide is a harsh reality, it will always be present. Now, if because today the statistics show that 70% of our youth have access to a smartphone. Of course, that number needs to get much better. But we need to also take into account the inequities and disparities that exist in the physical world that are actually a much bigger hurdle to solve if you think about it. Because in the physical world, a small section of students have access to good schools and good teachers, and the majority do not have access to any teacher at all. So I think these challenges can be solved at scale, either by using technology as an enabler or by using it at the infrastructural level, by building good schools and giving access to good teachers. Now, the latter is very difficult to scale up for large markets, emerging economies like ours. So yeah, like I said, I think the increase of smartphone, the numbers are very positive. It shows that more and more students can actually take benefit from these kind of online learning programs. So we also started with the aim of democratizing quality education to give students across the country access to some of the best teachers. In fact, today we have students from more than 1,700 cities and towns. Over 65% of them are from outside the top 10 cities in India. What we've done is we've also launched our app in multiple regional languages, because now students across grades can learn in Malayalam, Kannada, Gujarati, Marathi, Telugu, Bengali. We thought that's actually important so that they can learn in multiple languages. We've enabled access to our learning content on SD cards, which is offline. You don't even need internet access. On lower bandwidths, also you have options to learn on 2G and 3G networks. And a small thing that we've done, as part of our social impact initiative, Education for All, we launched BYJU'S Give to help students with no access to online learning have an equal opportunity. So what we do here is we encourage citizens to donate their old or unused smart devices, refurbish it, load it with BYJU'S content for free, and then distribute it to children who really need it, who do not have access. I mean, it's a small thing, but I think if many companies come together like this, and we can actually make a difference. So that's about the digital divide. And about the NEP, I think we welcome it because it provides students flexibility in furthering digital education. It's very timely. And as an EdTech company, we of course know and we believe that tech-enabled learning is the best way to kind of achieve scale. And I think because India is home to the largest K-12 population with 260 million school-going children, so this actually helps. And universalization of school education, the push to improve gross enrollment ratio, a renewed focus on essential life skills like coding, all of this is part of the NEP, which I think is very, very, very important. So there is special emphasis on online and digital education as well. And I think that will increase the scope for many more startups to also come in and start creating an impact. Like I said, there is so much that so many people can do, and we have a really long way to go.
Sure. And Divya, we got to close out with a few questions, personal questions here. How do you, and I know there are a lot of women entrepreneurs who are in the audience today, and I think India is hopefully seeing a surge in women entrepreneurship. How do you balance, you've got two jobs essentially. and you got your husband working in the same startup as well, right? So you're probably peaking at the same time when the work comes and whatever issues happen, right? So how do you balance that? Just give us a sense of that.
Yeah, in fact, I've just given birth to our second son a month
ago.
Oh,
congratulations.
So I think, but like I said, I feel becoming a mother actually tells you the importance of time even more. And I feel I've been much more efficient after my first son was born, because you start valuing time so much. And people talk a lot about work-life balance, but I think if you think that work is life, you kind of make time for everything that matters to you. Family matters, work matters. So the best is to create an artificial boundary and and cut out time for each thing, so that everything is given equal attention to. That being said, I think working with your husband, who is also a founder in the same company, it's I think it helps in real life if you're very similar in your thoughts, unlike in movies where they say opposites attract. But in real life, it really helps to have people on your side who think like you, because then you're actually you're driven towards the same mission, and you have the same interests and goals, so there are very less disagreements. So
very good. And Divya, you all have done outstanding already, but and you're a decacorn, and you've got unlimited resources available to you. But what is your penetration? I know you got 60 million users, and you've added 30 million this past year. What is the penetration so far? Just to give us a sense of what the potential is for the rocket ship, right? That is BYJU'S.
Yeah. So if you look, so it's very less. That's the point, right? Even it's relative success is what I would like to call it. It's not success. It's relative success only because there is so much potential. We have 260 million school-going kids, and we have, even though we have 75 million students who've used our platform, you still have a really long way to go. Which is why we always say, if you think that you're successful, it's over. So every day we try to better ourselves compared to the previous day, and today, and see, this is all based on first principles. It's not a cut, copy, paste model. For us, we have created our own rule book in a way. So I think the way we look forward and the way we want to do things is by, again, competing with ourselves, trying to be the best we were, better than what we were yesterday. And I think that's how we're going to put our best foot forward.
Awesome. Divya Gokulnath, thank you very much for joining us today. I assure you, if there was a physical audience, they'd be standing up and applauding. But we will look forward to welcoming you in person sometime in the near future. But in the meantime, good luck and thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Divya. Bye-bye.